Alright, week 3 of the weekly movie dice roll season 2 is up. Had a great movie and a disappointing movie. Let's get into them. Real quick, if you like my content, give me a follow on TikTok, give me a subscribe on YouTube. Alright. Late Night with the Devil has to be one of the most unique horror films I've seen probably ever, and that is entirely due to the way it behaves mostly like a episode of a late night talk show, while also giving us the discussions behind the scenes. Honestly, this movie legit feels so much like an episode of a talk show that when the scares happen, you're not prepared for what it throws at you. Frankly, it just feels natural all the way through until the very end, which I'm not going to spoil, but just know it is very different than the rest of the movie. And it works in such a way that you can't help but be impressed. David Desmalchian, I'm gonna be honest, after watching this movie, I want to see more of him in a leading role. Because he acted his ass off as Jack Delroy. Meanwhile, everyone else was also doing outstanding work in the roles they had. Honestly, I do wish the ending could have been a little more bizarre, because that honestly helped its chances of being a fascinating look at one's mental psyche. No surprise. And as for the complaints about AI, I didn't notice it. I am not gonna bullshit you. I didn't notice it. But yeah, no surprise here. Late Night with the Devil, 9 out of 10. Hell yeah. Alright, now, Lee Reynolds' Wolfman was alright. It wasn't the great remake of a horror movie I was hoping it would be. But for those that said it was a terrible movie, I beg to differ, honestly. The movie was well paced to a certain extent, and the lead actors, the trio of actors this movie focuses on, had great chemistry, but I cannot lie, I did not care for any of their characters. Yeah, I didn't also for a horror movie, this wasn't scary. It wasn't scary, and especially in the moments where it was very clearly trying to be. Also, I've seen numerous complaints about the design of the Wolfman, and I completely understand that. The movie just felt like it exists. That's the best that can be said about it. Which is a shame because Lee Winnell's take on the Invisible Man back in 2020 was probably one of the best sci-fi horror movies I've seen in a long time, and it really elevated the genre. Here, you have Winnell just looking like he's winging it. Yeah, that's the biggest issue. Lee Winnell just honestly feels like he's winging it much of the time. Especially since the movie story just comes off as another trauma leads to the problem kind of horror movie. It's not a bad movie. Again, the writing's okay. The acting is good. And honestly, the shots of nature that we get towards the beginning and the end are gorgeous. And those are some pretty significant points for me. But again, dull effects when you can see them, an uninteresting look at the titular Wolfman, and great performances of just uninteresting characters. Really makes this probably the first big disappointment of this season of the Dice Roll. Again, it's not bad. It's a very serviceable movie if you're looking to turn your brain off. But from the guy that gave us a phenomenal take on The Invisible Man, I expected more. So with that, I'm sitting at a 6 out of 10. Alright, so yeah, that was a weekend for movies. It could have been better. But hey, I'm happy one of the movies was great. Anyway, that's my reviews. That is the end of this week's Dice Roll. And again, if you like my content, you know my TikTok and you know my YouTube. So go give me a subscribe over there. I'm trying to make it bigger there. And yeah. I'm just trying to make it bigger over there so I can, I don't know, make content creation a full-time job. Or at least a job. Anyway, see y'all next time, and as always, y'all stay interesting.